great day. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Epson Expression Premium XP-7100 printer. Now, a few months ago I compared this printer to an HP NVPhoto 7855 and a Canon TR8520. This printer was far ahead of the competition in pretty much every category. So I thought I would sit down and make a full review of this printer. Now, I would like to say that this video is not sponsored by any company. Epson has not paid me to make this video. I have paid for the printer, I paid for the ink and the paper, and this is just my own opinion about the printer. So this printer is right in the middle of the Expression line of printers. They have Expression Home, Premium, and then Photo and Photo HD. And this is right in the middle of the bunch. And I would say overall this is a great printer for the everyday family. It does a great job printing lots of documents at a reasonable speed. It's not too slow, but it's not crazy fast either. I use it for my schoolwork printing primarily, and it also works great for scanning my documents as well. And if I want it to fax, it can do that also. Now, this printer has many purposes, and let's get right into them. So, on the top we have a pretty large auto document feeder here that can do about 30 pages, 30 to 35 pages, and it is a double-sided auto document feeder, which means that it will actually flip the pages for you. So rather than all the pages coming out and you have to turn them over yourself and do the other side and have to manage to put all the pages in order in the PDF, this printer does all of that for you. So it makes it a lot simpler, and it allows me, at least since I'm scanning most of the stuff that I print, it allows me to print double-sided without having to be worried about, how long is this going to take to scan it in. So that works phenomenally well, and it is a relatively fast auto document feeder. It's actually, it's very close to some of the speeds for like LaserJet printers that have like really fast auto document feeders, but it is considerably faster. I compared it to our OfficeJet Pro printer, and it is actually slightly faster than even the HP OfficeJet Pro. Now, underneath here we have a scanning bed, and on the screen it actually has a lot of sensors all around the printer. So if I'm lifting the scanning bed, if I'm inserting an SD card or USB drive, which is another thing this printer can do, or if I'm putting a document into the auto document feeder, it will realize that there is something there, and it will prompt you with a menu you can use to use some of the features here. So when I lifted the scanning bed, it comes up saying copy, scan, and various prints. Now we have a 4.3 inch, which is pretty large for a color touchscreen display, and it has very large, easy to use buttons for most of the main functions, and it even has lots of built-in templates inside. So if I went into various prints, we can actually make some design paper right here. Just have to go to design paper, and I can choose one of these. That one looks nice, and it's going to print. And it allows me to cancel the print. I can see exactly what it is, what page it's on, and the automatic tray will actually extend to catch my print so it doesn't end up on the floor. And we'll see here that it will come out. It's not printing at the fastest speed right now. It's doing like the standard or high quality mode for this built-in template, but it can print, at least in the draft mode, it can do it really fast. Now, I would not consider this printer a photo printer necessarily. It can handle photos pretty nicely, and but it's not that great compared to a real, more professional photo printer, or just a dedicated photo printer. So I made some postcards here using Epson high-quality inkjet cards, which is an A6 size paper, and it works fabulous with this printer. But it's not that good compared to if I also printed one on a photo printer of mine, and this is the one from the XP-7100, and you won't really be able to tell the difference that much looking at the screen, but for me at least I can clearly see the difference in colors, and also it's a little bit more aligned on the sheet slightly, but it still does a pretty good job though. So for an everyday purpose of making photo cards or postcards, it can do a really nice job. So rather than going out to your local store to print your photos, you can do them right on the printer. If I was to put in this SD card here. It pretty much turns into my own photo kiosk, just as if I was at like CVS or Walgreens. And I can easily go in and print the photos, so I can do layouts and lots of stuff. Brings up all my photos here, and I simply will select the photos and click print. Now, for the paper for this printer, we're going to bring the tray back in. And on the bottom, we have our cassette that can hold about 100 sheets of copy paper, and you can also put other sizes in here. You could put 8x10 photo paper, and it should fit a decent amount of that if you are really doing tons of photos. But I just have basic copy paper in there now. And above that, we actually have a photo paper tray, which can handle photo paper up to 5x7 in size. And right now I just have basic Epson Premium Glossy photo paper in here. And it simply slides in, and it locks in right here where the arrows meet. And when I put that in, it's just having me confirm the paper size. If I wanted to change it to ultra premium or a different type, I could simply choose that on the menu. Now this photo paper tray, it can slide past slightly where the locking mechanism is, but you know, I think that if you end up getting this printer, you'll be pretty familiar with loading the tray, and it's not like it easily slides back or anything like that. I've seen some people that have, you know, are not so happy about that feature. The reason why it slides back is because the printer actually will slide the tray in automatically so it can feed the sheets of photo paper. Now, we also have a rear specialty feeder which can accommodate one thicker sheet of paper like cardstock, which you can actually put cardstock in the main tray if you wanted to. Or you can put envelopes, and you can just do one envelope at a time. You're going to want to click print on your computer, and then when the printer prompts you to load one sheet of paper or an envelope, you'll put that in and it will slowly draw it in. It does take a decent amount of time to deal with, and you can only put one sheet in at a time. So it's not ideal if you're a business and you want to print lots of envelopes. But if you're just, you know, if you just have some cards that you're making, you want the envelopes to match them or something, then this can do a great job with that. And it aligns it perfectly, and I have not had any issues with that. We also have a CD and DVD tray, which is something that I have tested out and does a great job with printing onto printable discs. They do sell the labels for regular discs, but it makes more sense just to buy the printable kind. And that slides in right underneath here. Now, one thing that I wish that Epson would improve on in the next model of this printer is with the auto document feeder, there is an adjustment guide here. And if I was to load in some notebook paper that I maybe took notes on, I need to scan in, so my, you know, to save it on my computer, the edge guide goes, you know, literally the tiniest bit. If it just went the tiniest bit more, that would be fabulous for notebook paper. Or maybe if they could make it even scoot in a little bit more for even smaller sheets of paper, I think that would be a great improvement. That's just a little thing, because if I'm scanning notebook paper, it might not be completely straight when it goes to my computer. And but it does a great job communicating with my computer. I can scan right from here rather than having to open up the Epson Scan application, which works pretty well. And it also has some other applications such as Epson Print CD for making easy CDs to print or DVDs. And it also has Epson Easy Photo Print, which makes it easy to select your photos on your computer to print. And it has, you know, it just has a lot of features that make it very easy to use. If I was to give this printer, actually I have a family member, my grandmother has a very similar Epson printer which has the same menu system. And even for my grandmother, she's had difficulties with some of those printers that, you know, you use the buttons to navigate across. But with her Expression printer that has the touchscreen like this one, it makes it really easy for her to navigate and to deal with. Now the ink for this printer uses Epson 410 and 410 XL ink cartridges, which you can see are aligned right here. If you lift the scanner unit here, it does not automatically come over to the changing position, which is something that I know some people have been confused about in the past. I've seen online And you do not want to change the cartridges when they are over here. You want to go in and select the button to say changing cartridges. If you try changing them here, you could end up damaging the printer. But it uses a total of 5 cartridges. It has a larger pigment black ink cartridge, which is great for text documents. You know, it'll be more smudge resistant if you're highlighting it on your document. And it retails, for the XL size at least, retails for $24.99, and it will last many hundreds of pages. So I rarely need to change the cartridges when I use the XL size. And then the color cartridges, you have your cyan, yellow, magenta, and photo black, which is a dye-based black. So the colors are dye-based, the pigment black is obviously pigment. And yep, the ink works pretty nicely, but if you want a dedicated photo printer, it's probably going to have at least 6 colors. And some other, the Expression photo printers that Epson makes use pretty much the same print head, just that instead of having the pigment black, you have a dye-based light cyan and light magenta cartridges, which will allow you to print a little bit nicer photos. So if you want a little bit of a better photo printer, you will lose out on the auto document feeder, but you could choose an XP-860. Now, one other thing which I wish that Epson would hopefully improve on, which they have been adding to many of their models, is a waste ink cartridge, like a maintenance cartridge. So inkjet printers accumulate waste ink when they're cleaning the printhead and other stuff like that. And with a printer like this, in a few years, it may fill up. And I would need to take it to an Epson service center or mail it to them to get it changed and reset, which is just a hassle, and most people probably wouldn't end up doing that because it might just be cheaper to buy a new printer. But most of the other Epson Expression models now actually have a waste ink cartridge. So with those models, you would not need to worry about that. You just buy the cartridge, $10, $12 usually, and that solves your problem. Now, I have seen listings for non-genuine Epson ink online, such as remanufactured cartridges on Amazon, and I am someone that has repaired dozens of printers in the past, and I've seen the damage that those cartridges and compatible cartridges can do to the print head and to the printer itself. They can leak and fill up the waste ink pads. They can damage the print head if it's not the same ink. If they're putting dye-based ink inside the pigment black cartridge, that can cause problems. Same thing goes with other, you really just don't have the same reliability with using the non-genuine ink. Now, as I said, this video is not sponsored. I was not paid by Epson to say that. That's from my own experience. The genuine cartridges are a little bit more expensive, but in my view, it's probably best to choose them for your printer. And you can put whatever you want in your printer. That's just my recommendation. And the paper for this printer can handle virtually any basic consumer paper up to letter size. So you can put in even ultra premium photo paper luster from Epson or velvet fine art paper, which are papers that I would not really recommend for use in this printer, but this printer can handle them. And it's a pretty impressive, has pretty impressive paper management because it has those extra trays and feeders. It can accommodate pretty much any of those papers, but obviously you're not going to be feeding fine art paper, into a printer like this. You would have a professional photo printer. Some people might be looking into doing dye sublimation printing, and with using dye sublimation inks, which this printer is not designed for that, but Epson actually has their SureColor F170 printer, which could accommodate your needs, because I know some people always ask that in the comments. So if you are looking for a dye sublimation printer, I would suggest looking at that model or other similar models. But overall, I would say this is a very impressive printer. It is a very compact printer as well, and if they come out with a new version of this printer, I'm sure it'll be even slightly more compact, and that's because Epson in their newer models has been changing the orientation of the ink cartridges to have them more in a kind of like a vertical position rather than being horizontally here. So when they're positioned vertically, it usually ends up taking even less space. So they are working hard to make their printers more and more compact with every new model. But I would say it's a great printer, and I would highly recommend it. So anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. As always, have a great rest of your day, and you can always subscribe below, and I hope to be making some more videos soon.